Hello there, this is Taffy Toast. Welcome to the finished product of the 6-person style challenge. This was very fun to do. It took me, I don't know, roughly like 7 hours. I spent about an hour to an hour and a half on each person. As I go on through this video, I will be explaining the ways I had to work through each style and the interesting aspects of everyone's styles that happened to end up in this video. Thank you to those who sent me refs that made it easier for me to find images. Of course, I still scoured your channels for more pictures of examples of your shading techniques and ways you could have drawn. And as we go, it was honestly really fun. And I definitely think I did a good job. As we can see, we started with me here. It was pretty straightforward and easy because, you know, it's my style. I did a little bit more effort into doing this one than I normally would, which is a pretty boxy style with the body. Basic like human anatomy. As some people like to describe me, I kind of have more clean lines. Like, I like to keep all my lines connected and perfect. It's a unfortunate perfectionism trait I have that I really need to get out of. I decided, since it was my own style, I would draw moon frowning and all the other moons would be smiling, and I'm not sure how I came to that conclusion, but I did. But in the long run, my style isn't too much of a hassle. I think it's pretty easy compared to a lot of other people's. Then again, I wouldn't really know too much. I don't watch other people. I don't see people try to draw my style much. My shading technique's pretty simple. I use an airbrush if I'm a bit lazy, which is what I did here. Alright. First up was Ivy. Ivy's style is really interesting, and I really love it a lot. They have some really sketchy lines, and that is something I really admire about artists, is when their line work isn't like straight and clean. It both takes more effort, and it's different when you practice definite like straight lines all the time. Clean lines. It's something I believe that artists should give a try sometimes. Just do sketchy art styles to color in sketchy stuff instead of clean stuff. It can help you practice, help you get out of a perfectionist viewpoint like I have myself, where I think everything has to be perfect, every detail needs to be perfect. And it was less stressful to do Ivy's style that way if I just basically sketched it and kept the sketch as the line art, which I did do for Tacos as well. About Ivy's shading, I noticed Ivy had a kind of like paint-like style shading from looking at some of their other art that they seem to really try hard on. And that was really cool. It was a really good match with the sketchy line art style. It was definitely different doing Ivy's than I thought it would be. The next one up after Ivy was Taco, and Taco was probably one of the quicker ones, simply because I went from straight sketch to turning that itself into the line art, unlike the double sketch I did for Ivy's. Tacos was really cool because their style seemed to be more pencil-like lines than actual digital lines, and it makes it feel like traditional. It makes it feel nice. The thing about coloring was they have some nice colors, and what was different was their moon didn't have stars on their hat, and I thought that was kind of cool. It gave it a slightly different vibe. The outfit itself was also kind of cool. It was more sciencey than I thought it was. Their shading was, it was pretty similar to mine when I'm actually trying to. They'll do shades and then they'll overlay those shades with more shades And on top of that, there's more lighter shades, and it's almost like a painting style, but at the same time it's not, because it's also rough. But their style was pretty cool to do. I really loved it, even if it was pretty rough. It was a little difficult when I started at first, just basically throwing lines all over the place, but it eventually got better and I thought it was really cool. Like Ivy's style, the sketchy is another, like, how it's more pencil-like was something I also admire about their art style. And honestly, I think more people should really try it than not, because between these two artists alone, their styles are something that can help get someone out of a perfectionism viewpoint. Here I had to fill in all the many little holes that coloring this in individually had left behind in the artwork all over the place. It was a pretty easy fix and wasn't that bad. Overall, great style. The next person on the style list was Sleepy, and Sleepy was probably one of the harder ones to accomplish, just because of the difference and similarities that were in the style, which made it difficult for me to not do my own style overlapping hers. The thing about Sleepy is they've got kind of round, clean lines, and it's kind of bold and balanced at the same time, and I really enjoyed that, even if it was a real big hassle and challenge to work out and figure out. As you can see, I ended up doing the entire head like outlined as a sketch by accident, and I had to go through and actually sketch out the rest of it, otherwise I would have probably messed something up. I kept the hat in majorly the same pose as it was in the picture that I had seen to help me reference this. And there were also a couple cool little aspects about the style that really is different than like the other ones in this video. Like the nose kind of like overlaps more like the actual canon designs for Security Breach Moon than what people tend to do. The torso had a double layer, and that was pretty cool as well. When it came to colors, they were pretty straightforward. I could bucket fill this one pretty easily. I really liked the different shades of blues. Their shading style was pretty interesting. It's one of those really long shading styles where you have to individually, it looks like, color in every section of the drawing with the shades and the values you want to use. It's a pretty time-consuming shading style, but it really works out, and I thought it looked like theirs. Sleepy's style is really cool. Really different than a lot of other people's in my opinion, but that's what makes them unique and cool. I added some more lighting so you could see the shading better, and it's just overall difficult but really, really fun. Next up was Nami. And Nami was definitely a very interesting one to do. I even had to go personally ask Nami, hey, how do you do this? Because their lines are so thin, it really threw me off on how to actually do it. And if you look real closely at Nami's drawings, the lines are different colors. Their line art isn't all black or all gray or whatever color that anyone could use, like purple and all that. And it was really interesting. Nami's art is light, it's soft, it gives me a cozy vibe, like I could just get in a blanket and just look at it. So what I had to do was, the sketch itself was the line art. I didn't even do a second sketching for the line art. I just sketched it and started erasing the lines until it looked extremely thin. And honestly, that's the only way I could figure out how to do Nami's art in style. When it came to Nami's colors, I really found them so warm, even though that Moon is a lot of cool type color tones. Their art style is just warm and like overall. Maybe it has to do with the lighting I copied from a recent drawing they did. I did the same type of lighting, which was pretty warm. As you can see here, I had kept changing colors because I was trying to make everything fit in. And I kept erasing and I kept fixing, and it took a little bit longer than I thought it would, just to color this one. I mean, like halfway I had to go through and resketch the body because they had sent me a ref by then, and the only thing I was going based off of was like several pictures of them drawing Moon, which, mind you, looking at those pictures side by side, Nami has a very consistent style compared to some other people. They draw the stars always relatively in the same place on Moon's hat. They just overall draw everything consistently in the same space that they would any other drawing. And that's what I think makes them a really good artist, to be able to do things like comics, which requires you to be extremely consistent. Nami's style is so different that it's also one that I adore, much like Ivy's and Taco's and Sleepy's. I really never thought I'd be able to get it as close as I did in this drawing. As we start getting into the next section of me working on Nami's art, you can see here that I had outlined all of the sketching outlines, and I started matching them with really close colors to the actual body colors themselves, so it would look more soft and more natural like Nami's style, which really worked out on the eyes, which the black outline before made them look way too different to the actual style. Soon I started to get ready to start shading Nami's, and I took a lot of inspiration from one of the recent artworks of Moon talking to older Moon. So honestly, that's where the shade lights come from for this one. They have a kind of layer-like shading, but you can also use an airbrush pretty easily on it. The layers to get the darker straight values and the airbrush to get the lighter values. And honestly, it all blended together pretty nicely, and I thought it turned out really good. And finally was Egg. Egg actually was a lot easier than I really thought Egg's style would be. I had worried up until this point that I wasn't going to be able to do it because of how Egg worked. But I think I had gotten a grasp from over time of watching them draw on stream, and honestly I noticed that they do sketch, even if it's a lineless art style, which in itself is really cool. And lineless art is a real masterpiece type of drawing. You really just can't do it unless you practice it, which is something I really admire about Egg's art. So at this point in drawing, I had to change the sketch layer in the whole thing to an inverted layer because I would need to color everything underneath the sketch rather than above the sketch. This is also where when I watched Egg streams, I took notice of how they drew sometimes, and it's something I did need to do myself, which was draw every little detail on individual layers, so I can merge them later. Because the way Egg does it is everything is lineless, so it's all just solid colors. But Egg gradients everything, and it's really cool. It's the only way you can really tell some colors apart when you do lineless, because otherwise it all just blends together and meshes. Here with the eyes, I really had to improvise because Egg didn't really have a picture of Moon's normal, the way he draws Moon's eyes normally. So I had to improvise based off of what they did with some of the lines on the face. And I ended up making one eye gray and one eye white, with both pupils red. When it came to the rest of this, I ended up shading the head before I actually got to the rest of the body. And that's where I just did flat color and just started shading as I went. Another cool thing is the torso is pretty interesting. Egg style requires me to draw the arms without the natural human muscle bending that I end up drawing in any other drawing I do, which is pretty interesting. When it came to shading, I didn't really do much, and it's not very noticeable because Egg's style of line list is so detailed in a way. I just put basic overlays over it. And finally, we're at the end of this video where everyone's art styles are completed. I had a lot of fun doing this, and I had a lot of fun designing the names and the little details that went with the names. For my own, I just put a little wolf and I colored the eyes differently to represent my OC. For Ivy, I put a croissant. Ivy likes croissants. For tacos, I did a little doodle of SH. I wasn't sure the entire lore there, but I knew SH was important to them. For Sleepy, I just put clouds because it really went with a lot of their theme with being the goddess of dreams and everything like that. Nami, I put a shark. Sharks are something Nami loves. And for Egg, just to mess with the little fellow, I put Lord Eclipse because Egg is a simp. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to do it. If you would like to see more, I could do Eclipse or Sun or Lunar as well, maybe even Earth, and more artist styles. But you'd need to give me more names for that, and I need to know if you guys really want to see more of that. And for now, peace out everybody. Go eat some bread.